Hello, Internet! We are getting ever closer to the Crown Tundra. It's almost here. It's getting quite exciting. And so this week, I hope you've been watching. We have been doing a little mini-series giving you my thoughts on who the best new and returning Pokemon are going to be for VGC, since we've got a lot of new Pokemon coming back into the game. So on Monday's video, we had a look over the new Pokemon forms, and speculated as to what I think might happen with some of them, and base stats and what I'm hoping, what I'm expecting from some of them. On Wednesday's video, we had my 11th place to 20th place on what I think, in my opinion, is going to be the best Pokemon coming back into the game for VGC. And in this video, you've got my top 10 returning Pokemon for VGC as well too. So we'll just go back to the main list. This is the big list. These are all of the VGC legal Pokemon that are coming back into the game. The red Pokemon listed red there are obviously the restricted Pokemon. They are not in this list. Else, it'll be Xerneas number 1 and whoever else number 2. Who would number 2 be? Like, I do like Yveltal, but there's no Primals in the new games, are there? Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So, this is the top 10 in this video, my top 10 Pokemon that are coming back into the game. Just as a little bit of a warning as well, too, since it hasn't been officially announced, at the time of recording anyway, these Pokemon can learn new moves, and so for each of the Pokemon that I'm listing in this video, I'm also giving you the list of the new moves that Pokemon can learn as well, too. So, if you don't want to know, the new moves that the Pokemon can learn, don't watch. But if you want to learn essentially you want to learn some new stuff, you want to learn what the Pokemon can learn themselves now, then carry on and watch ahead. So, in the last video, I think number 11 was Tapu Fini, wasn't it? So let's start now at number 10, my top 10 list. Number 10 is actually Tapu BULU. And as I was mentioning, actually, with Tapu Fini, like, Tapu BULU is much better now. It is so much better than it was before, and I'm very happy. Like, I really like Tapu BULU. I mean, I liked Tapu BULU so much before because I really did not like playing against Tapu Fini. And in terrain, Tapu BULU with the Wood Hammer could just one-shot Tapu Fini. Even intimidated sometimes, it could just one-shot Tapu Fini. But it's got a whole lot more. Got a whole lot more toys to play with now. Look at this list of new moves. I don't think there's any Pokemon that's got so many new moves that are actually viable for it. Let's have a look. It gets close combat now, so it doesn't have to use superpower and lower its attack. It gets play rough now, so it's actually got a physical fairy attack, which is fantastic. Darkest Lariat, okay, it's got a dark option. High horsepower, so it's not Earthquake. It doesn't get reduced by some grassy terrain. So it's got coverage for like HEATRAN and other steel types if you don't want to use close combat now, which is fantastic. And like Rillaboom, it's got Grassy Glide as well. Now, yeah, Grassy Glide, Tapu BULU. I think that's going to be interesting, isn't it? The reason why it's at number 10 here and not higher is because Rillaboom also exists. Rillaboom has got advantages. And, Tapu BULU has got advantages as well, too. Rillaboom gets Fake Out. Tapu BULU is also a fairy and has got very good coverage with, Play Rough now and Close Combat and High Horse, although, Rillaboom gets High Horsepower as well, too. But, anyway, there's essentially 2 very good grassy terrain setting Pokemon. And, although Tapu BULU is very good, it might not be, you might want to pick Rillaboom over it, just because I think with all of the new Tapu Pokemon coming into the game, the Fini, the Koko, the Lele, as well as Tapu BULU, I think Poison Pokemon are going to be a little bit more common. And if you want a grassy terrain setting Pokemon that's really hard hitting, both of them are hard hitting, Tapu BULU and Rillaboom. But at least Rillaboom, especially with an Assault Vest, at least Rillaboom can take Sludge Bombs quite a bit better. Tapu BULU times 4 weak to poison, so that is a big downside for Tapu BULU. But there are upsides as well too. The fairy coverage and whatnot as well. So I think Tapu BULU is it is a very, very good Pokemon. It is one of my favorites. It's probably my second favorite Tapu to use, actually. Maybe my first favorite Tapu. Who knows? But I think it's a very good Pokemon. But just because Rillaboom also exists, I'm not sure how much it's going to get used. People do also, just tend to think of Tapu Bulu as being not that good, wrongly, I think. But we'll have to wait and see. Number 9 on this list, though, does share one of the typings with Tapu Bulu. It is the grass typing. It is Kartana, and actually, the more I looked into Kartana, the less I was convinced on it in this format. But it is at number 9. I put it at number 9 just because I do think it'll still be very good. Like a fast, offensive steel Pokemon is a rarity. They are scarce. I mean, there's Libero Cinderace with Ironhead with a steel spike. I guess that is technically a fast, offensive steel Pokemon, but otherwise, fast, defensive steel Pokemon are hard to come by, and Kartana is fast and very, very, very offensive. Leaf Blade, Smart Strike, Sacred Sword was the common set with Detect, or maybe Tailwind, or maybe Sword Stance we saw in the past. It does get Grassy Glide as well now, which I'm not sure would see that much use on it. And Aerial Ace I've put on there as a potential that might be seen just because Airstream would be good as well too, because Kartana doesn't get Tailwind anymore, and that is this is really why I'm not as confident to put Kartana higher on this list, because Tailwind was really big for Kartana, and before it got Tailwind, because it didn't always have Tailwind back in 2017, but then it had the Z moves. Then it had other ways to do one big powerful attack and destroy everything and whatever. Dynamax is going to be very interesting for Kartana. It's going to be able to hit those big moves, and it will be bulkier as well too, obviously with its double HP to help out with this abysmal special defense. But at the same time, is Dynamaxing Kartana the way to? I suppose it depends on the game, doesn't it? Really, but Kartana doesn't have any speed control like it had in the past, so we'll have to see, won't we? It's obviously a very good Pokemon. It is fast, it is offensive, it is very good against a Tapu Pokemon, which is very good in this format, and with the fighting coverage as well too, a bit like Tapu Bulu, really. It's got the good grass coverage and the good fighting coverage. It isn't as worried about Incineroar, which was often a very common switch in for Tapu Bulu or Kartana. A Sword Stance, a Sacred Sword is going to do a lot of damage, even at +1. So very, very good coverage and a very good Pokemon. But we'll have to see how it does. The next Pokemon that I'm putting on this list, though, is a Pokemon that I actually never really used. It's a Pokemon that really does not fit my style at all, but I do recognize is an amazing Pokemon and can literally 4-on-1 Pokemon in the teams by itself. It can only really be with that description. Celesteela. And yeah, we're getting into the Ultra Beast territory here, aren't we? If you did play VGC in 2017, then if you're annoyed playing against Corviknight, just imagine if that Corviknight could have Leech Seed and it's got Flamethrower. So your Ferrothorn is screwed if it's if it's in front of the Celesteela as well too. So Celesteela is literally the win condition Pokemon. It is the Ferrothorn but better in a way. It's a Pokemon that is very, very, very bulky. I mean, I'm sure you know how it works. It's a very bulky Pokemon, which often has, Leech Seed and Protect. Then Heavy Slam and Flamethrower, I guess, would be the main set for it. But people did use sets in the past that were offensive with, a consumable item and acrobatics with Heavy Slam. Now, some people have used Specs on their Celesteela because that did a lot of damage as well. Specs Flash Cannon, Specs Air Slash and Flamethrower do a lot of damage. So there's a lot of potential for Celesteela. It can be used defensively. Wasn't really used offensively that often, but it can be. It was more often used in a kind of way that Ferrothorn is used now. It's a Pokemon that if you eliminate the threats to it, it will literally just win, and there's not really anything you can do about it. So it is a very, very, very good Pokemon. Obviously, with The TAPUs coming back into the game. Steel Pokemon, good Steel Pokemon, are a very, very good addition to the team as well too. So Celesteela is going to be amazing. Still, I think it's a fantastic Pokemon. I'm pretty sure it does still get Wide Guard as well too. I've not put on this list, but Wide Guard not really not used that much these days. It does get Grassy Glide as well, but a Mega Horn now as well. But maybe you'd use Mega Horn only if you were, mad or crazy going with a super offensive set. But yeah, Celesteela, it just does what it says on the tin, really. I mean, it literally is a tin. Like it just does. It just does. Full stop. So very, very good Pokemon. So let's go to number 7 on this list, the 7th best Pokemon coming back into the VGC metagame. I think it's another Pokemon that shares typing with the last two, actually. It is HEATRAN, and this is a Pokemon that has a lot of history with VGC. Like, historically, in the years HEATRAN has been legal, it has been a Pokemon you always have to respect on Team Preview. It's a Pokemon you have to respect on team building, really, because it's one of these Pokemon that's got a unique typing, fire and steel. It is also immune to fire attacks with its flash fire ability, and if you can't hit HEATRAN, it will win. I mean, it's a little bit like Celesteela in a way, not to the same extent, but often HEATRAN, it is a pretty bulky Pokemon, and it is a pretty offensive Pokemon. It's just not that fast. But its typing is the key. Like, its typing is so fascinating. Either Pokemon hit it very hard, or they just don't hit it at all, really, pretty much. So, I mean, as far as moves go, it doesn't really get anything new that it would have had in the past. It does get Body Press. People did use Body Press on Magnezone. They went for all of the steel spikes and whatever, and then they had Body Press that could threaten to do a lot of damage as well too. So maybe Body Press could work on it. Burning Jealousy, if you did want to go for a bulkier HEATRAN, perhaps as well too. But otherwise, the 6 moves that I've listed there are maybe going to be the most common 6. Overheat, Heat Wave, maybe Flamethrower perhaps if you want a single target overheat perhaps. Flash Cannon didn't used to be used that much, but with the fairies coming into it, Flash Cannon was used a lot more. Earth Power was often the main second attack for HEATRAN, to hit other HEATRAN and to hit other fires and rocks and whatever. I've put Solar Beam on this as well too, just because if you're Dynamaxing your HEATRAN, a Max Overgrowth could be pretty good to catch stuff like Rhyperior and whatever off guard, rocks, ground types, Gastrodon, all that kind of stuff. Taunt is a move that has been used on HEATRAN in the past, not so much. One move that HEATRAN used to use a lot that I've not put on this list though is Substitute. Now, Substitute is a fantastic move, but since Pokemon Sword and Shield, no one has been using Substitute. I think I think really if Worlds was coming up, I would be tempted to test out Substitute, because it would catch a lot of people off guard. People are not used to playing against Substitute these days, because if you Dynamax, you waste your Substitute essentially, and that is really why it's kind of fallen out of favor. And Substitute was good with HEATRAN because it's such a difficult Pokemon to hit. If your opponent had Pokemon out that couldn't touch it and they had to swap to bring in a threat to HEATRAN, you could just Substitute on that turn, and then you'd be fine to maybe protect the next turn, maybe attack, do whatever next turn. It was such a good move for HEATRAN. You saw it combined with Skill Swap, Cresselia, to give it Levitate and whatnot as well too, which is still viable. I'm pretty sure Cresselia still gets Skill Swap. I think Skill Swap is still a TR or a TM in the new games, so I think that will still be a possibility for it. But yeah, we'll have to see how well HEATRAN goes. It's not a Pokemon that I have so much experience using, but it is a Pokemon I have a lot of experience playing against. So I respect HEATRAN. I think it is still going to be a very good Pokemon, especially because, and I've said this probably for the last 2 Pokemon as well too, and for another one coming up, a good Steel Pokemon is almost essential on your team, just because there are so many fairies that are going to be going around. I'm anticipating anyway with Tapu Lele and Tapu Koko and whatnot. You want ways to resist these fairy attacks. So a good steel Pokemon, Heatran is definitely up there. Let's go to number 6 on this list though, and we're going to visit another one of the TAPU Pokemon. This one though is Tapu Koko. Now, Tapu Koko is a fascinating Pokemon, and like I've been mentioning with Tapu Bulu, it's got a lot of new toys to play with as well too. Koko is up there with Bulu insofar as Pokemon that have got lots of new options. Lots of new ways to play it. In the past, we saw Tapu Koko normally it was special, with Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Dazzling Gleam, whatever, or it was Assault Vested with, in some of the formats, like the restricted formats, we saw, with Assault Vested with Electro Web, with Skydrop, with moves like that. But I don't think that set is going to be as viable now because Skydrop was a big part of that set, and Skydrop isn't in the game anymore, unfortunately. But the funny thing is that people always use Tapu Koko as a special attacker in the past because its electric terrain makes its attacks very powerful, but its base attack, its physical attack, is 130. I'm pretty sure, but hardly anyone used Volt Tackle. Hardly anyone used, Volt Tackle. I put Volt Tackle there. It's Wild Charge, isn't it? Isn't it? Wild Charge. Volt Tackle's the Pikachu attack. I'm sorry about that. Wild Charge. Wow, there we go. Some mid video editing. There we go. There's me typing without looking. There we go. And we're done. So yeah, Wild Charge. Yeah, not Volt Tackle. Sorry if you were screaming at the screen there. So Wild Charge, does a lot of damage, especially in the electric terrain, 130 base attack. But it didn't have Play Rough. Now it does have Play Rough. It's actually got, more physical coverage. It also gets close combat, so it threatens, Tyranitar much more, than it used to in the past. It threatens, Steel Pokemon more. It threatens, all the things that fighting a super, Dark Pokemon, whatever. All the things that. Not that it didn't anyway with this Play Rough, I suppose, or Dazzling Gleam as it had in the past. But anyway, it's got more options for its physical attacking. So, all good. Tapu Koko, we're probably going to see it as an offensive Pokemon, yes. We'll see it either as physical now, or maybe as special. But one move that I've not mentioned yet in this whole thing is Rising Voltage. And if there was one Pokemon that Rising Voltage was going to be good for, it is Tapu Koko. Now, Rising Voltage, as long as the electric terrain is in effect, and as long as the target is grounded, Rising Voltage does ridiculous amounts of damage. It does need the terrain though, and Tapu Koko quite happily brings the electric terrain with it. So, okay, it's got a very nice attack stat, it's got all these coverage moves now, it gets Play Rough, it gets close combat. We might still see special Tapu Koko going around just because Rising Voltage does so much damage. But at the same time, without the terrain, Rising Voltage isn't really that threatening. So we'll have to see how people do actually use Tapu Koko. I've put it number 6 on this list, which is actually very high because it is a very fast Pokemon. In the past, especially with Z moves, it was one of the benchmarks. You had to survive its Z move. And now you will have to survive Tapu Koko's max moves because, at base 130, it is faster than almost anything else, really. What is going to be faster than Tapu Koko? Not a whole lot. Formosa, I suppose, is back in it, but, isn't going to be that commonly used. Dragapult is faster as well. Barraskewda, which, I don't think many people are going to be using too much. But, yeah. It's a very fast Pokemon, it's a very offensive Pokemon, a very oppressive Pokemon, and that's not going to change. The thing now is, on Team Preview, you're going to have to be, tossing up in your mind, is it physical or is it special? So, very good Pokemon, still a very good Pokemon, just a little bit more, a little bit more dynamic in a way now, but at the same time, it can't run its supportive set quite so well, since it hasn't got Skydrop. But let's move on. Let's go on to number 5 in this list, which is another old favourite. It is Metagross. Now, if we're thinking back to, if any of you played VGC back in 2012, Cresselia and Metagross was like, the core that, every meta team was built around in a way with, Trick Room or, Icy Winds and Thunderwaves and whatever, and Swagger and Lumberry on the Metagross and all that. And then Metagross kind of evolved a bit and people started using it a little bit differently. And then Mega Metagross came around. What's that? What's Mega Metagross? But not anymore. It's just normal Metagross again now. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how commonly it's used, because in the past it's been fantastic, but if you're used to using Mega Metagross, there might be a few people that are a little bit confused as to how to use Metagross, because at base 70 speed, it's one of those awkward speed Pokemon, isn't it? It's not really fast enough to be that good in Tailwind. It's not really slow enough to be like a reliable Trick Room sort of sweeper. It's one of these really middling Pokemon that has got a lot of stats. It's a fantastically bulky and a fantastically offensive Pokemon, but it's just how you position your Metagross. That's the key to using it, really. I have listed a bunch of the common moves here as well too. Meteor Mash, maybe some people go Iron Head perhaps. Zen Headbutt, it does get Psycho Cut as well now, which if you really want the accurate option, that's there. Bullet Punch was used fairly often on it. Hammer Arm if it's a more Trick Room oriented Metagross, and also to threaten Dark types as well perhaps. Earthquake maybe, but one of Metagross's new attacks is Steel Roller, which is a move that we haven't really seen anyone use a whole lot of, any Pokemon use, since it's been released. But if there's any Pokemon that Steel Roller is going to be used with, I think it might be Metagross, just because it is a fantastically powerful attack. And Metagross, as we saw in 2017, could be paired with Tapu Lele. Could be paired with both Tapu Lele and Tapu Koko. Could be paired with two of any other Tapus. And if your terrain isn't that important, if you have got two Tapus, then Steel Roller is just this one-time bomb of a hit that will one-shot almost anything that doesn't resist it, pretty much. So I'm very, very interested to see if Steel Roller is a move that the people are going to use on Metagross. So historically, it's a fantastic Pokemon. It is maybe a little bit one-dimensional now. Not having the Mega option on it as well means that it is stuck at its base, 70 speed stat, which isn't so great either. But with its stats, Metagross, you've always got to respect. I suppose in a little bit of a way, it's a bit like Heatran as well too. If you haven't got a way to hit it, you're just going to lose to it basically. So we'll have to see how well Metagross goes in the format. But one Pokemon that definitely will not want to be coming against a Metagross is the next Pokemon at number 4 on this list. It is Tapu Lele. So we're getting to the top end of this top 10 list now, aren't we? Tapu Lele I've put as the best Tapu. I mean, it is all my opinion, obviously, as well too. But I do like using Tapu Lele. I do like using Tapu BULU as well, but I've put Koko higher than that. But Tapu Lele has not got as many new toys as Tapu BULU and Tapu Koko, but I suppose a bit like when we were talking about Rising Voltage with Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele has got Expanding Force now, and we know from from those few weeks when people was using Indeedee and Alakazam, we know how powerful, how oppressive Expanding Force is. Now, I'm pretty sure Tapu Lele and Indeedee Male have got the same base speed stats, so there's not really anything extra Tapu Lele can do there speed-wise that Indeedee couldn't. But Tapu Lele is bulkier, it is more offensive, and it's also a fairy type as well too, which Psychic Fairy is a pretty good combination. Like Gardevoir, yeah, it's been pretty good in the past, Mega Gardevoir in 2015 especially. But it's a very good typing. Psychic. Oh, it's a Dark type. I can't hit you. Oh, yes, I can. I've got Moonblast. I'm also a fairy. It's it's a very, very good typing. And to be honest, it was out of all the Pokemon in the top 20 list here, Tapu Lele was actually the most difficult to come up with what I thought would be like the most common 6 moves. Expanding Force, yes, people are going to use that. Moonblast or Dazzling Gleam, people will use that. I'm not sure if people will use Psychic on Tapu Lele, maybe not, but what else could it do, really? I mean, on Scarf Tapu Lele, which I imagine is going to be a bit of a thing again, people would use Thunderbolt, maybe Shadow Ball on it, Nature's Madness perhaps as well too. If you're not Scarf, Taunt on it as well too would help if your team is really offensive and you're really scared of Trick Room. A surprise Taunt on Tapu Lele is a good surprise as well too. But out of Expanding Force, it hasn't really got anything else that really, any other new moves that give it different ways of play. Like Speed Swap could be interesting, but I mean there's faster things that have already got Speed Swap. Misty Explosion, well, maybe if you're going with like a Specs Lele with like Lele and Finny on the same team, like maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. I'm not sure, but Expanding Force is definitely a massive boon to Tapu Lele. So I mean, we've done all the Tapu so far, haven't we? We did, Tapu Fini put at number 11, Tapu Bulu at 10, Coco at number 6, Lele at number 4. I think the four Tapu Pokemon are going to be fairly instrumental in organizing, in forming, in creating, in forging this new metagame, because they bring the terrains. I mean, yeah, we've had Rillaboom and Indeedee and Pincushion and Weezing, for the terrains over the last half a year or however long the game's been out. They're not brilliant Pokemon. Indeedee, like female, is very good with its Follow Me and everything, but otherwise the other Pokemon. And Rillaboom is obviously very good as well too. But now Rillaboom has got competition terrain wise. It's got a lot more competition terrain wise with Lele and Finny and Coco. So these 4 Tapus are going to be instrumental in forming the metagame, and they all have to be in this list. Obviously, I'll put Tapu Lele at number 4. I guess I'm most used to using it, but at the same time, Expanding Force I think is just going to be so good on it. Like, it really is, isn't it? But anyway, I've waffled on about Tapu Lele long enough, haven't I? So let's go to the top 3 in this list. So out of all the Pokemon that are coming back into the games, I think the third best is a Pokemon that actually isn't as offensive as most of the others in this top 20. It is Tornadus. It is a Pokemon that, is going to rival Whimsicott and Talonflame as the best support Pokemon in the whole format. And if you played the Sun and Moon formats in 19, Tornadus was a nightmare in that. But now we've got the new Tailwind, the new speed mechanics, so that Pranks to Tailwind is just that much better as well now. And Whimsicott is good, Talonflame is good. Neither of them really are that offensive. They're not really that oppressive. They don't really do too much else other than tailwinding and maybe taunting and chipping a bit of damage or whatever. Tornadus can be a threat as well. Tornadus with his tailwind obviously can taunt as well. Has got Hurricane. If you really want to, you can Dynamax. If you're running a team with Pelipper or Politoed or Kyogre and that comes out again, Hurricane 100% accurate. Very, very good. Air Slash it gets as well too as an alternative. Heat Wave if you're not in rain perhaps. Icy Wind, a very good, a good attacking move, but good for extra speed control if you're coming against other Tornadus or other Whimsicott, just to get the edge on the speed control as well there. So as far as the common moves go, they're a little bit restricted as to these 6 pretty much are going to be the most common moves that you see on it, I think. But they're good moves, and Tornadus works very, very, very well. I have been mentioning the Prankster Tailwind and everything, but with the new reported ability to change to hidden abilities, Tornadus potentially can have its Defiant ability as well too. And it's been a very, very long time since Defiant Tornadus has been legal in VGC. I think it might be all the way back in 2013, which was a very long time ago. And Defiant Tornadus was used then. I think Prankster was... Actually, no, I think I think Defiant was used more than Prankster actually in 2013. Yeah, it definitely was in 2013. But yeah, Defiant is, I mean, you can still run Tailwind on your Defiant Tornadus. Tornadus is still base 111 speed. It is still very, very, very fast. You know, you don't necessarily need the Prankster there. But the Defiant might give your opponent a surprise if you lead, you know, an Incineroar into it or a Landorus into it or whatever. And unlike, you know, poor Thundurus that has lost its hidden power Ice with no way to touch the Landorus, Tornadus has still got its hidden power. It's not hidden power. It's still got its Icy Wind. It's still got its ice coverage, so it can still threaten it. But you know, that's a special move. On the physical side, acrobatics. You know, if you use a consumable item, acrobatics can't be used with Flying Gem, unfortunately, like it used to be in the past. That was a big threat. But yeah, there's other items that you can use if you want to go acrobatics or whatever. But like Thundurus, it does get access to Scary Face now as well too, which is interesting, and it does get Nasty Plot as well. Thundurus has always been able to Nasty Plot, but Tornadus can Nasty Plot too, which means that not only does Tornadus have fantastic speed control, but it has the potential to surprise the opponent, set up a Nasty Plot, and then sweep through their team with, you know, max Hurricanes, you know, max Airstreams as well. So Nasty Plot is definitely a move that you could see on there. Scary Face, maybe not as useful for Thundurus, because that does get Thunder Wave. You know, Tornadus does get Tailwind as well too, you know, for speed control. But you know, Scary Face is an extra option if you don't want to use Icy Wind, I suppose. Weather Ball could be interesting as well if you are running it on a rain team, you know, a team with drizzle. You know, you got your 100% accurate Hurricanes. You've also got, you know, water type Weather Balls, maybe to hit Landoruses and Incineroars and stuff like that as well too. But yeah, there is a Defiant option as well too to go physical. So Tornadus is a Pokemon that you don't necessarily know what you're going to get just by looking at it on Team Preview. I think you can pretty much assume it's going to have Tailwind, but if it's going to be offensive, if it's going to be special, if it's going to be physical with Defiant, there's different ways to use Tornadus, and base 111 speed is very, very good now. Like, it is very good still. There's obviously things faster, but base 111 is definitely very, very good. So Tornadus, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it still learns superpower and stuff. It does have physical coverage options and whatever. So Tornadus, probably, in my opinion, the third best Pokemon coming back into the games. So let's have a look at number 2 now. We're getting up there, aren't we? Number 2 is STAKATAKA, which is a Pokemon that, you know, you might have forgotten about, because, you know, it was only really legal for like what, half of the 2018 format and a bit of 19. Yeah, it was legal in 19, wasn't it? But it wasn't really used when Ultra came around, I don't think. But like, you know, it was an Ultra Beast that was introduced late, and you know, it's amazing. You know, it's a rock steel Pokemon, as I'm sure you know, and it's got a massive attack stat, a massive defense stat as well too. You know, good HP. It's only got, you know, a pretty lacking special defense. It's still alright, but you know, pretty lacking special defense, and a really, really, really slow speed stat, even slower than Torkoal, which is why we saw, you know, people use skill swap on it with, you know, with Torkoal in the past to, you know, re-get the weather and all that kind of stuff. You know, swap beast boosts around. You know, lots of fun business like that. And you know, it still will be able to skill swap. That's still an option for it. Maybe over Wide Guard as the top 6 moves here. But you know, Rock Slide, Gyro Ball, Trick Room are the most common, you know, moves that you'll see on it. It does have access to high horsepower now as well too. We did see a few STAKATAKA with superpower in the past to hit opposing STAKATAKA, but now you can run high horsepower, which will do the same job and just not lower your stats as well, which is you know, a nice little bonus for STAKATAKA. Steel Roller, yeah, I'm not really sure you get to see used just because Gyro Ball is so good with its super low speed stat. Body Press is a potential option over high horsepower or over superpower, just because it has got this massive defense stat. So body press is definitely usable as well too. So some interesting new additions for its moveset there. But the main reason to use Stakataka is because it can Trick Room. It is so slow and it is so bulky. It's one of those Pokemon that's, you know, a little bit like HEATRAN and like Metagross, like I've been mentioning. It's a steel Pokemon that, you know, if you don't have a fighting attack, if you don't have, you know, a ground attack, you are not going to touch it. You're not going to knock this Pokemon out. Like, you know, maybe strong water moves as well are going to do a lot of damage to it as well. But, like, you know, it's only weak to two things. It's weak to water, and then what else is it weak to? You know, not a whole lot else, really, is it? So it can generally quite reliably get Trick Room up, and, you know, not only can it get Trick Room up, but it's one of the few Pokemon that both can Trick Room and is then instantly a threat in Trick Room as well, too. And there's not many Pokemon like that. You know, maybe Chandelure, I suppose, if, like, the opposing Pokemon are fast enough. HEATRAN is a Pokemon that can be instantly threatening in Trick Room as well, too. But there's not many others. Stakataka is probably the most threatening Pokemon that can Trick Room itself as well. It is a fantastically oppressive Pokemon to come up against on Team Preview, because if you can't touch it, you are going to lose to it. If you don't have experience playing against Stakataka, you are going to have fun playing against Stakataka. It is a very interesting Pokemon. And then, you know, it's like the funny thing is, like, people used to use like lonely natures as well, so that its defense stat was actually a little bit lower, so it got the attack beast boost, and you know, and stuff like that. But there's lots of interesting ways to use to EV Stakataka, I suppose. There's not so many interesting ways to use Stakataka because it's always going to be slow, it's always going to be Trick Rooming, so it's going to be hitting hard in Trick Room. But Stakataka deserves respect. It really, really does. But I don't think it's really any surprise what's going to be number one on this list. It's the Pokemon that you've probably all been waiting for the whole time. It's the Pokemon that, like, yeah, okay, like I normally tend to have, like, and not purposely so, but I normally tend to have differing opinions on most things when it comes to Pokemon. But we've got to be honest, like, the best Pokemon coming back into the games for VGC, it's got to be Landorus, hasn't it? Like, it just is Landorus. And I know that we've got, you know, Defiant Tornadus potentially. We've got Defiant Galarian Zapdos. We've got competitive Galarian Articuno as well. You know, we've got some deterrents for Intimidate. But at the end of the day, Landorus is just the best intimidator in the game, isn't it? And and you know, like in the Wednesday video, you know, I was talking about with Garchomp. You know, it makes Garchomp another very, very viable ground Pokemon. Much less viable when Landorus is in it. Its typing is amazing. You know, it's only really got ice moves to worry about, and I guess water moves to worry about as well too. But you know, more specifically ice. But you know, it doesn't have to worry about hidden power ice anymore. You know, hidden power ice, you know, Nihilego and Thundurus and, you know, whatever else. You know, there's tons of things. You know, Naganadel sometimes had hidden power ice. So many things that used to have hidden power ice are now going to struggle to touch Landorus. And not only is Landorus protected from these sneaky hidden powers, but I mean, obviously it can Dynamax, like everything can Dynamax, you know, apart from like Zacian and whatever. But like it's it's now got the alternative to you know, Run Fly on the set, and not only, you know, threaten with ground and rock and fighting, but it can threaten with powerful flying attacks as well too. So you know, Amoonguss is not as safe in front of Landorus as it used to be. Although, you know, I don't know how common Fly will be on it, because I would imagine Choice Landorus would still be the most common, and U-turn is probably the best way to go in a Choice Landorus there as well. So maybe you would still see Earthquake, Rock Slide, Superpower, and U-turn as the main four. But if you went with Life Orb Landorus or not Choice locked, maybe Assault Vest perhaps, you might want to go Fly on it as well. But it's another option for Landorus anyway. But yeah, I mean, like the other genies, it gets Scary Face now, which probably isn't really gonna, you know, see any action. Other moves are not really any extra use for its Scorching Sands. You know, it's got Earth Power. It's always had Earth Power. I mean, the incarnate form I've not put on this list just because I didn't want two Landoruses really. But incarnate, could be pretty good with its sheer force as well too. But you did quite often see, especially towards the end of meta games, you would see Landorus-Therian turn special as well with Earth Power. But you would normally see it with Earth Power and Hidden Power Ice itself. So I'm not sure how common special Landorus will be. Just because its special coverage options are pretty lacking, outside of Earth Power now. So I think you're probably mostly going to see physical Landorus, as we have done every other year, and it's just going to be one of those Pokemon that, like every other year that Landorus is around, you're just going to have to get used to it. You're just going to have to get used to predicting when it's going to switch in, get used to being intimidated, and whatnot. But yeah, I don't think Landorus being number one really surprised anyone. It is very good, for lots of reasons. It really is. But let's just go back. So this is the list. I'm just going to do a few honorable mentions here as well, because there's a number of Pokemon on this list that, like I was saying, have been defining in the past that I've just missed off this list, haven't I? And let's start with Salamence. Where's Salamence? It's alphabetically ordered. There's Salamence. There is no Mega Salamence, which obviously means it's not quite so good. But even in formats like 2014, the normal Salamence was very, very, very common. Normally had a choice scarf with Draco Meteor and whatnot. Maybe Spec sometime as well too. But only base 100 speed. There's a lot of things fast that threaten it now. Especially with Dynamax, you can't just swoop in Draco Meteor something one-shot something reliably anymore. Salamence, it is one of the best intimidators in the game still, but Salamence would probably be number 21st on my list. It just missed it. Who else? Latias and Latios. Latios especially. Latios, the 2012 metagame, was forged around Latios in a way, calculating to survive Dragon Gem, Draco Meteors and whatever. But I suppose a little bit like Salamence, Latios has just sort of been one of those dragons that had kind of fallen off a little bit. It is still very, very good. It can do lots of stuff. It can't Tailwind anymore. Salamence can't Tailwind anymore, and that's a very good reason why they didn't make these lists. But Latios can still Icy Wind, can Ally Switch and and Helping Hand and be a bit more supportive. So maybe you'd want Latias instead there. Another Pokemon that very, very nearly made the list was Raikou as well, which is a very good electric Pokemon. It can have its Inner Focus ability now, which means it can't be flinched. So Fake Out is no worry. It does get Scald now as well, Raikou, which means that, yes, it does have, a decent way to hit Landorus, even though you can't have Hidden Power Ice anymore, unfortunately. Scald is still good, especially if it burns as well. So Scald's a decent move for Raikou, and it doesn't have to be the event one to have Aura Sphere as well now. So Aura Sphere Raikou, an extra way to threaten Tyranitar and whatnot as well. So Raikou was another Pokemon that very nearly made the list. I was tempted to put Jinx on the list as well too, because obviously I've used Jinx in the past very successfully. Crobat, pretty much made the list until I realised that it didn't learn Tailwind anymore as well too. Crobat, I would have thought that Crobat would have learnt it from an egg, but it doesn't. Zubat cannot learn from its parents how to use Tailwind. It was an old move tutor, so yeah, Crobat, Tailwind is the reason to use it, and if Crobat can't Tailwind, then, not much use. Crobat can't Super Fang anymore either as well, too, as an interesting note. But yeah, Blacephalon can still do business, Blazer can do business, Buzzwole can definitely do business. Who else? There's plenty of good Pokemon on this list that just haven't been mentioned. Nidoqueen, a very good Pokemon that wasn't on the list. Pheromosa, a pretty decent Pokemon that wasn't on the list, not quite as well. Swampert, has been used in the past as support with Wide Guard and whatever. I don't think it'd be as good these days. Thunderous-Therian, still good, but outclassed by all of the other better electric Pokemon around, and Circuitry, you know, I've used Circuitry a lot in 2017, like, it pains me to say, but, like, there's a lot of competition for electric Pokemon now. There's, you know, there is Raikou, there is Thundurus, there is the Regieleki, there is Tapu Koko, there's, you know, all these new electric things that are zooming around. But yeah, I mean, I've been talking for a while here, but I hope that you've enjoyed these 3 videos. You know, my thoughts, my opinions, my expectation. You know, these are the 20 Pokemon in this specific video, this Friday video, the top 10 Pokemon that I expect to see in the VGC metagame. I think the best 10 Pokemon that you could pick to have on your team going forward. So I hope you have enjoyed it. It's been long doing these 3 videos, but yeah, please let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think to my list. Let me know what your top 10 or your top 20 would be, and I'll have fun reading through all of them. But anyway, you know, I hope you've enjoyed this. Hope it's been something a bit different than, you know, Battle Stadium or whatever. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me. If you're still here now, then, you know, give yourself a medal. But thanks for watching, and goodbye for now. Thank you.